The king's guards were analyzing the data they had gathered from Kyle's secret base, trying to determine exactly where he and his team had gone. Their goal was to track Kyle and his team down and deliver the king's message. The king wanted to attempt a diplomatic approach before attacking the Xel'Thari and believed that Kyle could play a critical role in this war. When the guards examined the computers at the secret base, they found some encrypted coordinates indicating Aurora's last known location. However, the data was not entirely clear. It seemed as if Kyle had deliberately made things difficult for anyone attempting to track him. Despite this, the data engineers managed to decipher the coordinates and identify a possible route. The results led them to an uncharted region of the galaxy, filled with unexplored star systems and unknown dangers. But the king's guards did not hesitate. If Kyle and his team had truly gone there, they had to find them and deliver the king's message. The king's special task force boarded the Solaris, an exploration vessel, and set course for the designated coordinates. Along the way, the debris they encountered confirmed Kyle and his team's path. However, something was strange among the wreckage. They found remnants of Xel'Thari ships that had been destroyed. Commander Valen examined the scene carefully and muttered under his breath. So Kyle has already encountered the Xel'Thari, but how did they survive? As they progressed further, Solaris sensors detected an energy fluctuation, evidence of another ship or structure. The guards immediately went on high alert. But the real surprise appeared behind them. A Xel'Thari warship had emerged silently from the shadows, tailing them. The Xel'Thari were following the energy trails drifting among the wreckage of their destroyed ships, searching for Kyle to exact revenge. Their lead warship, Sharuk, moved like a silent and deadly predator through the darkness of space. Inside, Xel'Thari warlord Vyr'Kaath stood in the ship's main hull, his glowing violet eyes fixed on the holographic map before him. The wreckage of the Xel'Thari ship Kyle had destroyed still floated in space. This was a disgrace, a Xel'Thari warship being destroyed like this. By a human, unacceptable. We must find him, Vyr'Kaath's voice echoed through the command bridge. Technology Officer Xel'Thari ran his long fingers across the control panel and responded. The energy trails are scattered, but I can determine a trajectory. Kyle and his team have already left this area. However, this wreckage can help us estimate their direction. Vyr'Kaath could not rest until he captured the man who had tarnished his clan's honor. He had read reports about these strange humans, who seemed resistant to Xel'Thari telepathic control. Emma and her team had displayed remarkable resilience and even managed to escape. But Kyle was clearly a warrior. He had slain some of the Xel'Thari's strongest raiders. They would not make the same mistake again. Increase the Sharuk's speed, Vyr'Kaath commanded, his tone sharp and unwavering. Where are they headed? Determine their most probable destinations. Xel'Thari swiftly analyzed the data on his screen before looking up and responding. Kyle and his team are not moving randomly. We can't determine their exact destination, but if we follow the trajectory of their hyperjumps, we can calculate the most likely systems they could be heading toward. Vyr'Kaath nodded. We leave immediately. We will find them and bring them before our queen. Kyle will learn what it means to defy the Xel'Thari. Sharuk glided through the stars like a phantom, tracking Kyle's path. But there was a problem. Kyle was already far ahead. And the Xel'Thari had no idea what he was truly after. Kyle and Emma knew they had only one chance to stop the Xel'Thari threat. The Xel'Thari were ruthless warriors, not just in physical combat but also through their telepathic abilities. A direct assault would be suicide. However, Emma's team and Kyle's fighters had devised a strategy that could turn the tide of the war. Kyle's plan was simple: draw the Xel'Thari vanguard away from their main fleet and buy time. Meanwhile, Emma would launch a direct assault on the Xel'Thari's flagship, destroying its core to either obliterate the fleet or disable it. But this was no ordinary battle. Kyle's tactic was to deceive the enemy, distract them, and most importantly, clear the way for Emma. At the core of the Xel'Thari fleet was the colossal warship Vyr'Kaath. This titanic war machine, a representation of millennia of warfare, moved through the shadows like a leviathan. Built from black metal, its surface pulsed with organic, glowing purple veins. Vyr'Kaath was the pinnacle of Xel'Thari technology and was considered unbeatable on the battlefield. The ship housed mind echo chambers, rooms where Xel'Thari mind masters launched devastating telepathic assaults to break their enemies' wills. But Vyr'Kaath's greatest advantage was its ability to generate a gravitational anomaly. This allowed it to create a gravitational collapse in the midst of battle, crippling enemy ships. However, this massive warship had a weakness: its core reactor. If Emma and her team could reach Vyr'Kaath's core, they could detonate it from within and send the entire Xel'Thari war effort into chaos. Kyle led his elite warriors in an assault against the Xel'Thari hunter fleets surrounding Vyr'Kaath. To give Emma and her team a chance to infiltrate the warship, Kyle needed to create chaos on the front lines. Using the Eclipse 9, a stealth attack ship, Kyle managed to evade enemy radar. But the Xel'Thari were already searching for him. As his ship approached Vyr'Kaath's outer defense perimeter, a telepathic message echoed in his mind. Xel'Thari warlord Vyr'Kaath was speaking directly to him. "I know I would meet you, human warrior. I will destroy you with my own hands." Kyle ignored the threat. His focus remained on the battlefield ahead. Surrounding them were Xel'Thari Keshra fighter ships, small but deadly vessels that moved in swarms. A single fighter wasn't much of a threat, but they were linked by a telepathic network. What one saw, they all saw. Kyle turned to his pilots and gave the order. "Raise shields to maximum. We need to split them up. The Xel'Thari are connected. If we can disrupt their network, we can force them into individual combat." Eclipse 9 and the Allied strike force launched into battle. Space erupted into chaos as green and purple lasers streaked across the void, and the Xel'Thari ships attacked in relentless waves. Leading the charge, Kyle pushed back the enemy, buying Emma the time she needed. But the Xel'Thari were prepared for them. Vyr'Kaath's defenses activated, and massive Tavashmir defense stations began emitting gravitational waves, slowing enemy ships and making them easy prey for the Xel'Thari hunters. Kyle's strategy had to change. He opened the ship's interface and called out to the engineering team. "Can we disrupt the Tavashmir station's frequency? If we interfere with their energy lines, we can disable the gravity waves." Liam's voice crackled through the comms. "I'm getting the data. Their energy transfer lines realign at intervals. If we hit them at the right moment, we can temporarily shut them down." Kyle switched to the fleet-wide channel. "Listen up, everyone. Input the coordinates we're striking the moment their energy field resets." "Is everyone ready?" The pilots confirmed. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1, now. Kyle and his squad plunged into the battlefield. Laser fire illuminated the darkness, and Xel'Thari ships attempted to ensnare them in a deadly trap. But Kyle's quick maneuvers and sharp strikes broke their formation, forcing them into isolated combat. The enemy network collapsed. Kyle's ship executed a final turn, breaking through Vyr'Kaath's outer defenses. Now, all that remained was to hold off the Xel'Thari fleet long enough for Emma's team to infiltrate the warship. But then, the sensors detected a massive energy surge. Vyr'Kaath had entered the battle with his flagship. Kyle's expression hardened. This was no longer a simple cat-and-mouse game. Vyr'Kaath was coming for him personally. The real battle had begun. Kyle activated his helmet mic and addressed his team. "This will be a fight to the death, but we will win. Now let's show them who we are." As Emma and her team advanced toward Vyr'Kaath, Kyle and his warriors fought to buy them more time. But things were not going as planned. The Xel'Thari had anticipated Kyle's tactics and had set a trap for him. Eclipse 9 was cornered by Vyr'Kaath's flagship, Xel'Thari. The ship's shields were failing, and energy levels were critical. Kyle sent one last message to Emma. "No matter what happens, destroy Vyr'Kaath's core. This war must end here." But before the message could fully transmit, a powerful blast struck Eclipse 9's hull. The entire ship shuddered, lights flickered, and Kyle gritted his teeth as he braced against the control panel. "I won't go down that easily," but fate had other plans. The shadow of the Xel'Thari, the ship was now defenseless. As Kyle steadied his breathing inside the control room, the flickering lights were suddenly bathed in a deep, purple glow. And then, a massive metal door exploded open. A towering figure stepped through the breach, its silhouette casting an ominous shadow. The warrior's body was clad in biological Xel'Thari armor, its long, curved horns protruding from its helmet. Its glowing violet eyes burned in the darkness. Kal turned to his men, his brows furrowed. This fight is mine. His soldiers hesitated but eventually stepped back, lowering their weapons. Kal took slow, deliberate steps forward, locking eyes with Vyr'Kaath. So, you came all this way. Vyr'Kaath tilted his head with a thin smirk. You walked into your own demise, Kal. For a brief moment, they stood in silence, measuring each other. Then, simultaneously, they reached for their weapons. Kal swiftly unsheathed his twin energy blades from his back, crafted from a special alloy capable of severing Xel'Thari energy flows. Vyr'Kaath, in turn, extended his curved plasma blades from his wrists. To him, this was more than just a battle, it was a reckoning for Xel'Thari honor. Kal struck first. He lunged forward, slashing his blades in a cross pattern toward Vyr'Kaath, but the Xel'Thari warlord moved with inhuman speed, dodging the attack effortlessly. In response, Vyr'Kaath countered with a swift strike from his left plasma blade. Kal barely managed to pull back, but the edge grazed his shoulder. The scent of burnt fabric filled the air. Gritting his teeth, Kal launched himself at his foe once more. This time, the blows came even faster. Both warriors moved with incredible speed, blades clashing, sparks flying. Kal searched for an opening, while Vyr'Kaath parried every attack with precise efficiency. Kal regulated his breathing, analyzing his opponent. The Xel'Thari fought through instinct and telepathic synchronization. Vyr'Kaath could anticipate his every move. But Kal's greatest strength was his speed. Seizing a split-second opportunity, Kal sidestepped and drove one of his blades into Vyr'Kaath's ribs. The Xel'Thari lord let out a guttural growl, but he did. Vyr'Kaath had invaded his mind. Kal gasped, clutching his head as his knees buckled. His memories, they were vanishing. Emma, Sam, Zoe, they were fading. Vyr'Kaath's deep voice whispered in his mind. Your mind belongs to me now, human. Kal squeezed his eyes shut, struggling against the intrusion. But everything was slipping away. Then, suddenly, Emma's voice echoed through his thoughts. Kyle, don't give up. For a brief moment, her presence broke through the haze. His consciousness snapped back. He could sense Vyr'Kaath's attack, but it was too late. Vyr'Kaath's blades plunged into his chest. Kyle's breath hitched. His eyes widened. Blood floated weightlessly in the zero-gravity air. His hands weakly reached for his wounds, but his strength was failing. As Vyr'Kaath withdrew his blades, Kal dropped to his knees. His vision blurred, but just before everything went dark, he heard Emma's voice one last time. Hold on, Kal, but he could no longer hold on. With his final breath, his world turned to black. Vyr'Kaath gazed at the lifeless body before him. Victory was his. And yet, deep inside, it felt emptier than he had expected. Kal had been a formidable warrior, but he had also been a threat. And threats had only one fate: elimination. Vyr'Kaath sheathed his blade. The war was not over yet. Kal may have fallen, but Emma was still alive, and now, the Xel'Thari were hunting her. Kyle's death had altered the course of the war. With the distraction he had created gone, all Xel'Thari's sensors and defense systems locked onto Aurora. Emma stared at the control panel, her eyes wide. Their ship had been detected. Zoe, move! Now, she shouted. Zoe had already anticipated the command. Aurora surged forward, attempting to slip into Vyr'Kaath's hangar unnoticed. But before they could make it, a massive energy surge struck them, and at that moment, everything changed. In the vast darkness of space, a shadow moved. The ancient Xel'Thari warship Doriek. Though not as massive as Vyr'Kaath, Doriek was a perfect machine of tactical warfare and interception. At first glance, it appeared to be merely a reconnaissance and blockade ship. But its true power lay in its deadliest weapon, the Graviton Nova. Just as Aurora was nearing Vyr'Kaath's outer panels, alarms blared in Doriek's command center. Xel'Thari officer Shervox fixated on the sensor screens. Commander, a ship is approaching Vyr'Kaath. With Vyr'Kaath's death, Doriek's entire defense system had gone into high alert. Shervox quickly tracked the signal. Aurora, they're here. From the command throne, Xel'Thari battle strategist Vathiric spoke in a voice of cold steel. Fire the Graviton Nova. Emma's team was mere hundreds of meters from Vyr'Kaath's outer structure when an intense gravitational energy surge was unleashed. In mere milliseconds, Aurora was thrown violently across space. Boom! The entire ship trembled. Zoe clung to the control panels, gritting her teeth. What the hell was that? She yelled. But she didn't need an answer. The ship had been tossed like a ragdoll. Emma quickly activated her comms. Shields up, now. Liam scrambled to activate the energy shields just in time. A second later, and their ship would have been obliterated. But while their shields held, Aurora was now out of control. At first, they couldn't understand what was happening. Then Zoe checked the sensors and her face turned pale. Emma, we've lost control, and I think we're caught in a gravitational pull. Emma's eyes darted to the star map. And in that moment, her blood ran cold. Aurora was being pulled toward the event horizon of a black hole. No, 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 this can't be happening, she whispered. But she was wrong. Vyr'Kaath and Doriak were stationed in the outer defense sector of the Xel'Thari system. And there was a reason why this region was so dangerous. A black hole lay in the depths of Spaceship 9, an ancient singularity. And now, Aurora was being pulled into its deadly gravitational field. The ship's engines flickered erratically, alarm sirens blaring through the corridors. Liam frantically checked the systems. Engines are overloaded. If we don't generate thrust immediately, we'll be pulled past the event horizon. Max, struggling to stay in his seat, analyzed their position in the vast emptiness of space. Impossible. How did we get here? It would take an incredible speed to reach this gravitational field. Emma gritted her teeth. The energy wave threw us here. The Xel'Thari's plan wasn't to destroy us. It was to send us to an inescapable death. Zoe immediately redirected the ship's engines. Initiating reverse thrust, maybe we can change our trajectory, but the gravitational field was too strong. Within milliseconds, Aurora's velocity had increased 20-fold. They were accelerating. Emma scanned the sensors, and then she realized they were only 45 seconds from the event horizon. No, she shouted. Liam, how much power can we transfer? Liam quickly analyzed the screens. Not enough for a full jump. But there's one thing we can try. What is it? Emma demanded. If we channel all our energy into a single lateral burst, we might be able to break free. Emma's eyes narrowed. The risk was catastrophic. But they had no other choice. Emma took a deep breath and looked at her team. We have to do this. Either we escape, or we all die. Zoe stared at the massive black hole. Its devouring darkness was ready to erase them from existence. And then, Emma shouted, "Fire the engines, now!" Boom! Aurora focused every last ounce of its power into a single explosive thrust. And in that instant, the ship broke free from the gravitational field by mere meters. The void outside shuddered with gravitational ripples, space itself bending under the force of the black hole, but Aurora had survived. One thought dominated Emma's mind: we need to get out, now. Aurora's systems had reached critical levels. Engines overloaded, energy reserves nearly depleted. They had escaped the black hole's grasp at the last moment, but now they had to flee. Yet, looming behind them, Doriak was still watching. The Xel'Thari warship had not moved. Its next attack could come at any second. Emma's eyes darkened as she turned to Zoe. Prepare for a hyperspace jump. Zoe clenched her jaw, her fingers flying across the controls. They redirected all remaining energy into the hyperspace drive. Liam hesitated at the control panel. Emma, if we do this, we'll lose all power. Emma stared at him without blinking. At least we'll be alive. Max took a deep breath inside his helmet. It's our only chance. With 5 seconds remaining before the hyperspace jump, Emma glanced at the ship's exterior display. And that's when she saw it. Kyle's ship Eclipse 9. Through the shaking and turbulence, his ship was still surrounded by the enemy. Doriak and Vyr'Kaath's weapon systems had locked onto him. And then, Emma's world slowed. Every single Xel'Thari warship turned its guns toward Eclipse 9. Kyle's ship was still fighting, but its defenses were gone. Shields deactivated, the hull torn apart. Emma gasped. No, she screamed, but there was nothing she could do. And then, all screens flashed white. Boom! Eclipse 9 was obliterated. A massive fireball rippled through space, Kyle's last traces vanishing into the void. Ship debris scattered, flames flickering for only moments before dying in the vacuum. And then, there was nothing. Kyle was gone, truly gone. Emma's breath caught in her throat, a freezing sensation spread through her chest. But then, Zoe's voice pulled her back to reality. Emma, initiating hyperspace jump. Aurora gathered every last ounce of its remaining power. The ship surged forward, absorbing the energy from the surrounding gravitational waves. Duriak and Vyr'Kaath immediately locked their weapons onto Aurora. But before they could fire, Aurora vanished into hyperspace. A blinding flash of light consumed the ship as it disappeared into the depths of space. Inside the ship, a suffocating silence filled the air. Emma clenched her fists, her nails dug into her palms. She closed her eyes. Kyle was gone. Did they win? Or did they lose? No one knew, but one thing was certain. This war was far from over.